not to waste any precious time this evening, welcome everyone to this, I think, final debate for Hooper Mayor and Council. You're probably hoping it's the last one. So, my name is Brent Odenwalder. I am a Ledge District Chair for Ledge 12 in the GOP. We are sponsoring this debate and welcome you all here. We'll start with a prayer by Amanda Prince. We'll have a Pledge of Allegiance by Nancy Inman, and we'll have a platform plank by Big Sarge Matt Westridge.
Our kind and loving Father in heaven, we are so very grateful to be gathered here tonight as a community, to be able to attend this debate. We're thankful for the freedoms and blessings that we enjoy in this country, and we ask that thou will please bless that we will always use those freedoms and blessings for good. We ask that thou will please bless each of the candidates tonight, that they will be able to feel calm and collected, that they will be able to express themselves clearly, and that their answers will be filled with truth and reason. Please help those in attendance that we will be able to discern and that we will be able to make good decisions when we cast our votes. We ask that thou will please bless this country. Please bless all those who have sacrificed so that we can enjoy these freedoms. Please bless that when the time comes, we can return home in safety. We say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before Big Sarge does the platform plank, I wanted to tell you that platform planks are those beliefs which the Republican Party should live by. And I said should very intentionally. And so I think you'll like this.
Good evening, my name is Matt Westridge. We support the individual constitutionally protected right of the people to keep and bear arms for security and defense of self, family, others, property, or the state, as well as for other lawful purposes. We encourage personal responsibility for the care and use of these firearms. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank Amanda, Nancy Inman, she is the treasurer for Ledge District 12. Our vice chair, James Coates, could not attend, as well as our secretary this evening. So, next. Okay, wanted to thank those who are taking our questions, Blair Brandenburg and Morgan Yeoman. I want to thank Kathy for doing the Facebook Live, Kathy Lively, and Jackson Wing will be uploading to YouTube, I believe, after the event's over, so you can review if you need to. Like to thank Shay Call for getting some yard signs and street signs so that y'all can know to be here and show up. I want to just take a real quick second to let you consider the vision regarding that plank that we were talking about. He only read one part of the plank, but we seek to reduce taxes and government overreach. Get government out of people's lives so that they can pursue happiness in the way that they see fit. We promote life, liberty, and property rights. We recognize that we can spend our money much more efficiently than government bureaucrats. We recognize that every social service provided by government must be administered and paid for by hardworking taxpayers. It is unconscionable to rack up trillions of dollars in debt for our children, grandchildren, and great-children, which they will never be able to pay. Citizens have a moral obligation to shine the light on corruption and actively defend life, liberty, and property. Tonight, for the ground rules of this debate, questions are being taken over here at this table. If you still have a question, please take them over there. Please understand that we will probably never get through every question tonight. I actually wish we could, and frankly, I have a fairly long endurance. But we are stopping at 7:30, so we're going to get to the point. I have just a couple questions to start off, and then we'll get right to the other questions. Speaking order has been determined by drawing, so each candidate has drawn a number. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to introduce themselves. After each question, the order of speaking will rotate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer questions. And we are encouraging in this debate, probably unlike some you've seen, we are very much encouraging some dialogue, respectful dialogue, but there are tough questions that need to be asked and tough questions that need to be answered. This would be a great time. We will allow 30-second candidate rebuttals. There will be a limit of 1 rebuttal per candidate per question. So once each candidate's had their 30-second rebuttal, then that will be done. There will be a summation at the end, so when we get right close to 7:30, we'll give each candidate in reverse order 1 minute to sum up. Thanks everyone for your participation. We'll get right to the first question. Okay, the first question,
But just one, were we gonna do an introduction first?
we should do that. Thanks for catching me. Let's go with the introductions, starting with,
Should we just do our same order and then we'll get it figured out?
that would be great. Start with one.
Hi, my name is Greg Simpson. I'm the son of Max and Marilyn Simpson. I'm a 5th generation son of Hooper, and part of my reasoning, well, most of my reasoning for wanting to run for mayor came just as I was jogging one day on one of our walking paths, and I just felt this feeling come upon me to run for mayor. I argued with that feeling for 15 or 20 minutes, and I just thought it was kind of a crazy idea because it was really never in my interest or wheelhouse. And so, as I was thinking about it, I just kept having these ideas. I thought about Hooper and how it's growing and some of the divisions that are going on. And part of it is that I wanted to help heal Hooper. I met my dad, who was also jogging the opposite direction, and he said to me that he feels like I should run for Hooper too, and it was strange that he had that thought, I had that thought, and so that's what I went with.
I'm Cammie Hubbard. I'm a 6th generation Hooperite. It's not a contest. My parents are Roger and Kay Rawson. Many of you probably remember my dad. He was a state legislator. When I was a kid, I used to go and watch him at the legislature, and I was fascinated by it. I remember LaDon will probably, do you remember LaDon? We used to go in his office and make hot chocolate, and I thought it was the coolest thing to watch him. And I never planned, I didn't think I ever planned to run for office, but my mom gave me, my mom did birthday letters, and she gave me a book of our birthday letters for my birthday, which was in September after I had signed up. And somewhere in there, when I was 17, I said my goal was to one day be a state legislator, which is so funny to me because I haven't thought again about that all these years. Anyway, I'm running because I just want to help. I think I'm very fair-minded. I will listen to both sides. I will Oh, does that mean countdown?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's it.
So this is what this means, 5, we got 5 left.
So I was thinking they were gonna do a 30-second. Did you already do it and I just didn't see it?
No, I thought that was for different questions.
Oh,
I can do it.
Okay.
When you only have a minute.
All right.
Okay, my name is Dale Fowers, and I'm the current mayor of Hooper City. 4 years ago, I ran on the promise that I would put Hooper first. And I have tried my best to keep that promise along with the City Council and Planning Commission. We opened the general plan and put in place revisions to help keep Hooper the rural, family-oriented community that all of us love and appreciate. We have worked with law enforcement to encourage a safer community. We've held the line with pressure from the state and developers who would compromise the safety and quality of life we feel here in Hooper. I had every intention of running for a second term so I could continue working toward the goals that we've set. Unfortunately, unforeseen circumstances developed, and that resulted in my wife and I deciding that it would be in the best interest for me not to seek a second term. I'm running for the City Council and would greatly appreciate your support so that we can continue working on and putting Hooper first.
I've lived in Utah most of my life and in Hooper for the past 40 years. I met my husband Mike in Idaho when I moved to Idaho for work after graduating from BYU. So no, I'm first generation. My kids are first generation. We have 4 children, 2 born in Idaho, 2 born in Utah. We have 9 amazing grandchildren, and Mike and I are both retired. I've been involved in the community pretty much as long as we've lived here. I've coached kids' sports teams, taught painting and community education, served as PTA president, helped landscape the city building. I chaired Hooper's 10-year celebration. I served on Primary Children's Hospital's Community Development Board for 10 years, and I owned and operated my own landscape maintenance business for 20. I served 2 terms on the Planning Commission before being elected to City Council. Currently, I serve on the Weber County Mosquito Abatement Board and the West Weber County Active Transportation Planning Committee. I serve because I love Hooper and I love the people that live here.
Hi, I'm Sherry Bingham and I'm running for mayor. I am a lifelong resident of Hooper. I am a wife, mother of 7, grandmother of 31. You know, Hooper is one of the very best cities in the state. In fact, I would dare say it is the very best. Because of that, I have chose to live in Hooper my whole life, as do 6 of our children and 24 of our grandchildren. I've had 18 years, great experience of working with volunteers in the community, working on community events. I've also had the opportunity of being able to work in the office. Because of that, I've had a chance to be able to listen to concerns that Hooper residents have. And I feel like I'm someone that is proactive, someone that is willing to listen, that will be willing to do what we need to do in order to all work together to continue to improve Hooper and make it the very best place it already is, and we just continue to improve on all of those things that needs to be done.
And my name's Ryan Hill. I moved to Hooper when I was 5 years old. My parents bought the old Pontius home on 4700 West, and that's where I grew up. I consider it the best childhood a kid could ever have, and so I'm grateful for my heritage. I went to Hooper High School, Country View Elementary, and I married Cindy Wood-Hill. I have 2 children, Riker and Howie. I currently work as the postmaster of Hooper, Utah. I've done that for 12 years. Been working at the post office for 27 years. I've served 1 term on the Planning Commission and 2 terms on the City Council. So grateful for all the shoulders I've rubbed with the community. I currently serve on the Weber Fire Board, and I've worked with the Weber County Sheriff's Office as well. I'm grateful to serve. I love where we live and the quality of life we have, and I'm grateful to run again. Thank you.
Okay, thanks candidates for the introductions, and every question now will just move one to the right. Question number one here, and it's a three-part question. Hooper residents are feeling extreme pressure due to overtaxation. What tax cuts have you intentionally supported in recent years? Are taxes and fees too high, just right, too low? And what will you do personally about taxes?
Now, is it the,
Whoever went second is,
you can,
Oh, we messed it up. I messed it up.
I didn't know we were doing mayors for 1 and 2, and then council 1, 2, 3,
okay,
4.
so we can go ahead and take that, and then we'll go council 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna do?
Yep.
Okay. So if we're overtaxed, I don't know. I don't know if we're overtaxed. I would like to look at the budget really well and see where things are being spent and see if there's a way that we could tax less. But that's kind of a hard question when I haven't been in our city government yet. So, well, hopefully yet. Anyway, yeah, I think we should be very careful with the budget, and we should spend very wisely and not spend money on frivolous things. We should be very careful with it.
Okay, so then I would go number 3, right? We're just going down the order as we drew.
So mayoral should go first, and then council should go 1, 2, 3, 4.
okay, so we didn't do it that way, so these need to go first every time.
Well, no, you won't go first every time.
Well-
It will rotate one to the right each time, so
But
once
mayor will just go every other time, because there's only,
mayoral can go every other, but the other one will.
right. Got it.
I don't know if I have that.
We just go in order and then
What-
switch.
What I did, Brent, I
If
just
the
go,
candidates would prefer to go in order, we'll just go down this road.
And then we'll then go the next and the next.
yeah, just like we did before. So
I thought mayor.
Greg started first with the introductions, then Tammy, you would go second with question on number 3. Next time, we'll just, I'll go first. The next time, number 4 will be, just like we did before. Is that okay, Brent?
City government ever. Oh, I forget, we have live mics, so.
I anticipated this was gonna be tough. Okay. Because we're already in a quandary of how to speak, I'm going to say, let's just go down this way. So, Mayor, okay, if you will lead off this, and we'll just go that way.
And then the next time I will be first,
That's
correct?
correct. I think
Okay.
it's gonna simplify life.
I agree.
Well, I think inflation is a big problem. As we look over the past few years, we've seen inflation put pressures on all of our families. But as we look at that, it also puts pressures on a city. When we look at our taxes, if I could just review real quickly, the tax that actually comes to Hooper City, if you were to look at your taxes that you just received in the mail here the last few days, it'd be $6.50 a day. Those are the taxes, the property taxes that go to Hooper City. And yet Hooper, a city provides a lot of services for its citizens. If you go down to a list of snow removal, sewer, and all those kinds of things that we have. So I took the next closest city to us, and that was Roy. And if we looked at Roy's taxes, they are $34.37 a day, or a month, $34.37 a month. And Hooper's was $6.50 a month. As you go down through the list of cities that there are in Weber County, you'll find that Hooper City actually pays next to the smallest amount per month of any city. And so when we looked at taxes, we thought the less intrusive tax, or the less tax that would put a strain on citizens would be this municipal utility tax. Oh, So then, when we looked at the least intrusive and the least amount of tax that would be placed upon or being a burden to families, we looked at this municipal tax, where it would be 6% of every $100 that you spend a month on electricity or gas.
Okay, so part of the question was, what have you done to reduce tax because of the pressure of overtaxation? And unfortunately, we do not have a lot of control over the amount of taxes. Probably all received your property tax notice this last week, and the fire district, school board, Hooper Cities was a small amount there, and we don't have much control over that. We have not raised the city taxes, which a lot of cities have. I heard one city they were talking about today, I heard on the radio, had raised their tax rate to 35%. They had raised it 35%, which that's a lot. And Mayor did talk about the energy tax that we did vote for. I voted for it. I thought it was more equitable than a property tax. It's spread out between every property owner, including churches, schools, UDOT. They have a building that they don't even pay property tax on that. So this was one thing that we did initiate, but other than that, we have done our best to control the spending. We have a budget, we have to spend in that budget, but prices of everything, like everything that you buy, has gone up. So that is why we did initiate the slight energy tax.
So what would I do about tax cuts, and do I believe in raising taxes? I had an interesting meeting this week with John Bond, who is the Weber County Treasurer. And he went through and said, one thing cities need to do is they need to compare apples with apples. So if you take a $500,000 home and you compare what they are paying taxes in the 16 different cities in the county, where does Hooper rank? With that, Hooper ranked as number 7 out of the 16 cities as far as what we are paying on a home for taxes. Some of us in Hooper, we don't have a large tax as been measured, but the reason for that is we are paying taxes on other things. For instance, like the fire district, where some cities have their own fire department, and so what is coming into the city has to pay for their fire department. Or the city may perhaps have a volunteer fire department, and so it's paying. So he said, you just need to look at that and see, even though it looks like a small amount, what are your taxes paying for? I was not in favor of the 6% energy tax. Some of those reasons are, I didn't feel like there was enough notice given to residents about it. I know there were meetings that were held about that, but when I went through and looked at some of the minutes of the meetings and the announcements, it was called something different. It was called like a Rocky Mountain Power Franchise Agreement. It was charged as an implementation of a franchise tax, then an energy tax on the sale and use of natural gas and electricity. So even though they were sending, we were receiving, if we were to look on the website or go perhaps to one of the local businesses, you were able to see that there was something, but it wasn't consistently across the board what it was. Whether we need to make cuts, I feel like it is a budget issue. I feel like once we have a chance to get in there and look at the budget and see what those needs are, I feel like it's a spending issue. Everybody has to live within a budget. All of us have to, within our homes, within our businesses. And I don't think it is right for still to continue to have more and more taxes imposed upon the people.
I'm a religious educator, have been for 34 years. I don't, to live in my house, I have to actually have my own business to kind of go along with it. So the word taxes kind of touches the gag reflex. I know it does on everyone. It's touched the gag reflex since the beginning of our nation with the way that it was imposed upon us by another country. I don't like taxes. And I do, my core belief is that government should learn to tighten their belts and not loosen it. And having said that, the nation runs on a system of taxes. And my belief, and I have to speak principally because I don't have experience in city government. I don't, I pay taxes like everybody else does, and I watch every penny I spend. So those dollars to me as an individual are sacred. And so if taxes are going to be taken from me and I have to think, okay, so which is the best tax to go with? And the way that it was explained to me, as far as, and I know that everybody's thinking about this franchise tax now, is, and it's just the way that it's been explained to me, that it was better to be able to have control over our taxes by how much energy we use, how much gas, how much electricity we use. That was more controllable than something that was placed on a property tax where it was determined by somebody else and values that somebody else had on other homes. And to me, that just seems like, well, that can be kind of unfair because we don't have a say in it. But if I can turn my lights off in my house, if I can turn the gas down on my house, if I can control that, that puts me back in a situation of control where I would not have it otherwise. So, am I in favor of tax? No. But if there has to be one, let's have one that we have a little bit of control over.
I kind of agree with Sherry that I think we should follow a budget. I brought a copy of the budget tonight. Our fiscal year ends in June every year, and unfortunately, we don't have our end of year report yet for Hooper City. We're 4 months into this fiscal year, and we still don't have a budget report for 2023. So I'm going off of May's numbers, but let me just read you some of the bullet points on this budget from May 31st. Taxes have continued to exceed the planned budget to date. There have been reasonable increases in sales tax, sales and use tax, and property tax. They are all above the percentage of revenues so far this year. And then another bullet point, interest income received to date is 106.9% of the amended budget. This is due to an increase in interest rates in the economy. So we earn money, interest, on our general fund, money that's sitting there in that fund. That's increased this year. Our taxes revenue has increased, and so has our sales tax and property tax has increased. I voted no for the utility tax because I look at budgets. I want to see where we're at, what our revenue is, what our expenditures are, and see if we need to adjust that balance. And so I don't feel like we needed to add 6% to the citizens of Hooper because I feel like just what I read from May 31st, we're under budget and we're exceeding our revenues. So that being said, yes, we're overtaxed to death. I have this conversation all the time. How many times does your dollar get taxed between everything we're taxed on? If you do the math, it's gag reflex, like Greg said. Thank you.
Is this a rebuttal?
Have you made your statement yet?
I already have mine. I already did the notice at first.
Okay, I'm going to go to another question. I do have a second question. I'm going to go to some of the other questions. I think that one's addressed a little bit later. What are your main areas of focus or top things you would like to accomplish if elected?
Okay, so I want to continue to work on keeping the general, so we update the general plan. I would like to continue to vote the zoning regulations and all the regulations that we have in so that they match the general plan. I would like to, I've been working on I'm on the active transportation plan for West Weber County. I really would like to continue to work on that and see that we have a connect-to-trail system. The active transportation plan is going to connect the trails through all the cities in western Weber County. I'd like to continue to work on that. We have increased the commercial corridor in Hooper. I would love to see more appropriate businesses for Hooper. I don't think Hooper is a place for every commercial business, but I'd like to continue to work on that. I work well with the city staff, and I'll continue to do that, and find out where the needs are, and just work where those needs are.
So an interesting thing when you teach health, you have to have measurable goals. I never can tell my students you have to be healthy, because what does that mean? Does that mean you're going to exercise occasionally or every now and then? It's the same thing. I feel like in a city, we have to have measurable goals. So some of these measurable goals that I would like to see. I would like to see a regular maintenance schedule for our roads. We have some roads in Hooper that are actually sloughing off into ditches, that have potholes that need to be repaired. We have drain ditches that haven't been cleaned out. So that has caused our house, for example, when we've had water that is seeping in through our foundation. I would like to see a continuation of the walking trails. We do have some walking trails, but they are not connected. And I would like to see those connected. I would like to see, if at all possible, a walking trail around the park. So people that are out in the morning would have somewhere to walk that would be safe, that they could be around a park. I would like to see committees formed so we could look at what resources are here in Hooper and how we could make those better. We have a Wildwood Park that I feel like is a beautiful park that is underutilized. It has a space there that would be big enough to have a soccer field. We have a lot of really nice, really good dirt here now to the north that could be put there, that we could have grass, that we could have a soccer field that would be there. I would like to see our other parks looked at to see what would be the best use of those parks. Is it to upgrade the park, maybe making it be a better baseball field? Do we need more soccer fields? I think the main thing we need to do is look at what resources do we have here in Hooper, get opinions of citizens, and then what do we need to do to make those resources even better? But they have to be measurable goals. It can't just be we want Hooper to be a better place. It has to be something we can measure.
I do not have a list of I want. I want to know what you want. I want to know what's in 9,300 hearts that live in this community. I don't have an agenda. I have nothing to gain personally. What I have loved is hearing voices that come from the community. Hey, I hear you're running for mayor. Can I talk to you? Yes, for sure. I listen to the passion that comes out of people. I listen to what they're feeling. And I just want you to have what you want to have that will help this community be safe and happy and healed. I personally want to live in a town that, because the rest of the world is going the way that it's going, why can't we have something in Hooper, some places that we can go, that we can see each other, whether it be on the trails that we walk, that we can connect, that we can see each other, pass each other on the road, say hi to each other, or waving to each other again as we're jogging down the road, that we can feel a sense of community. I love to hear what you want. As a public servant, that's what I want, is to hear your voice.
I would like to see more accountability and transparency in the city. Being on the city council for the last 8 years, I don't feel like the council acts as the governing body of the city like we should. Lots of times, we're just required to be the rubber stamp of whatever's on the agenda. And I would like to see more accountability, especially with Public Works Department. Looking at my budget, and this is the same budget every year, in our highway fund. We're given about $375,000 in our budget every year for crack seal, surface maintenance, and overlays of our roads. And very few times do I see any road construction projects in our community where that money would be of good use. This year, the only project that I saw was on 4200 South. And I know Hooper Water contributed a good chunk of that money because they were the ones that tore it up originally. So again, I want to see transparency. I want Public Works to come into our city council meeting and explain to us what projects they have planned for the year, what road improvements we're going to do for this year, and how, and get our opinion on what Public Works is going to do for that year. The city council should be the governing body. We should have an opinion, we should have a say. We're the elected officials, and that goes for Public Works as well. And so, in addition, Parks and Trail improvements. I really like the fact that we're a community that likes to get out and jog and run into people, and like Greg said, just to meet people and talk and get to know people. So that's what I would like to see. Thank you.
That's a big question. There's a lot of answers to it. I too would like to have more transparency. There was some land purchase in June, I think, and in August. And I don't understand why the purchases were made. The one was for the pickleball courts. For 10 acres, the city paid $550,815, but there was also another parcel, 2 more parcels that was purchased down by the park. One of them was 1.25 acres. It was landlocked. The county had the value of it at $31,250. We also bought a house, the city did, that the county value was at $395. The city paid $669,488 for both parcels together. The market value, you know, on your taxes, is kind of inflated almost on your market value, and then you're taxed on a taxable. I don't know how the difference is, but you're taxed on a different rate. But the market value, so the city paid $265,178 higher than the market value. And I don't know why we purchased that land, and I couldn't find anything in the notes of when that purchase was made. There's a house sitting on it, it's empty. Why do we have that? I don't understand why that was purchased. Are we gonna demolish the house? I don't know what the plan is, but that was a lot of money out of the city budget, and I don't know if there was a special grant or something where that money came from. Things like that, but I think we just need to understand what's going on. Another thing, I came to a city council meeting last week, and I came because it said we were going to talk about the financials for July and August. We never talked about the financials. They said you got it in your packet, and the council people got it in their packet, but you know, when you go to a board meeting, when you're in a business, you see your profit and loss statement, and you talk about it every month. You go over it and find out what was the income that month and what was the expenses, and I'd like to see that at city council meetings.
Okay, what I would like to continue to do is to see Hooper progress and move the way the citizens would like to see it move and progress. As has been brought up, you know, we put together a general plan, and it changed the general plan. The general plan changed according to what the citizens wanted it, how the citizens wanted Hooper, what they wanted it to be like. I'd like to see that general plan reviewed, at least reviewed every year, so that if there are things that are changed that it didn't quite meet the expectations or didn't quite meet the goals that the council and the commission wanted it to meet, that they could be reviewed and, if need be, changed. Not to reopen the general plan like we did this last year, but to just tweak things so that it really does fit and help the city progress in a way that is healthy and safe, and where our infrastructure will sustain that. Along with those things, I would like to get more input from citizens. I hope that when there are planning commission meetings held and council meetings held, that more people show up and take part in those. You know, it gives you an opportunity to share. In every meeting, there's a time when those who are present can talk about the things that they're concerned about. Whether they're on the agenda or off the agenda, there's two different times when you can share your feelings about things. Sometimes the budget is a hard thing. I'd like to see the budget, it does have to be reviewed, which we do review. But we have to keep in mind that a budget is a little bit different than revenue. And so sometimes we'll set a budget, and we always have to make sure that the revenue that comes in balances with the budget. I would like to review that and see if we, at some point, can make sure that our revenue does keep up with the budget that we've established. Would you hold that up for me to stop, or?
Okay, next question. Sherry, I believe you're up. This question came in, what are your feelings on nepotism? Sorry, luck of the draw.
Okay, so if you look at the definition of nepotism, it has to do if someone is given an unfair advantage based on if they are related to someone else. So for instance, if you had two people that were working in the same company, someone else came in to apply for a job and they were less qualified than someone who maybe was in your family, and you gave that job to someone in your family, that is what nepotism is. If you are giving an unfair advantage to someone, the law was never intended to be that just because you happen to be friends with someone or related to someone and they were a better, had better qualifications or were a better candidate, that they should not be able to fulfill that job. I know of a lot of companies where people are related that are working in the same company. We see that happening with school teachers. We see it happening with public organizations, with private organizations. Generally, they cannot be the upline supervisor, because in that case, then they could actually be giving some type of special treatment to them. Whether it might be that they are giving them an elevated pay raise, they may be giving them time off to go do something for personal reasons that they would not give to someone else. So I think this is just really a good, important question, because as you know, out here in Hooper, we have a lot of people that are related to each other. I have both sides of my family that were born and raised here in Hooper, going back multiple generations. So you can about go up and down most streets in Hooper and you will find someone that I personally am related to. So it's something that you just have to deal with and take care of it the best you can.
If I'm elected mayor, I won't hire my wife or my parents or my son or my cousins who live here. I hope that this answers that question.
I think Sherry did a fabulous job explaining what nepotism is, and so we've got the definition. We know how it relates to the city, of course. I have to deal with nepotism in my job as the manager of a facility with the post office. I can't hire my wife, my children, anybody like that to come work for me. They can go work for the postal service, but they have to work in a different facility. So nepotism really applies if you're the manager or supervisor of a facility and you have responsibilities over direct hiring or promotion, monetary incentives of any kind. You cannot influence that in any way, otherwise you're guilty of nepotism.
I agree with Sherry and with Greg. I hate to tell you, but they probably are your cousin. I mean, most of us are related out here, so it might not be a first or second cousin, but it might be a fourth cousin. So we do have to be careful not to have nepotism and to not have favoritism in any kind. You know, you don't want to hire somebody's best friend just because of knowing who they are or whatever. It needs to be based on qualifications.
Okay, I was faced with a little bit of that when I not a little bit of that, a lot of that, when I ran for mayor 4 years ago, and Sherry, being my sister, worked for the city. So we made sure that whoever supervised her, or she had to report to her direct supervisor, it was never me. It was either an office manager or the director of public works, and so, you know, I believe there should be rules there to protect people, just like we have here in the city and in the state, so that even if someone's not using nepotism to influence someone else, or even if they're not, they can't be blamed for doing that. And so I think there can always be a system put in place to make sure that that doesn't happen, and of course I believe it shouldn't happen. Not as far as working with someone, but as far as they don't have direct responsibility over someone that they're related to.
So fortunately, the Utah State Legislature has addressed this, and if you want to look it up, it's Utah Code, Title 52, Prohibiting Employment of Relatives. I think it's pretty cut and dried in that, and it's been brought up in meetings, and we have a city attorney that helps us make sure we follow those state guidelines set by Utah State Legislature. So I have every faith in this Utah Code that, you know, we need to uphold it, and we need to go by what it says.
Okay, next question. I believe we're starting on Simpson this time. This question is directed to mayoral candidates, but if others have something to add, I think that would be appropriate. What knowledge do you have about grants? How can Hooper City best use them? Are there any negatives? What is your understanding of the selection process?
Well, I know that Sherry's an expert on this. I'm new to it. I've been studying about it. I've been trying to figure out where the money comes from, and the purposes that they're directed to. I know that some things, when they're budgeted through grants, that they're directed specifically to those items. I wish I knew more about grants and how to get them. I'm in that process of learning about it right now, so I have nothing more to say about it.
Do you have any comment on that?
I'll just comment. I was totally unaware of ramp grants before I became a city councilman, and ramp grants were created by Weber County, and we all pay a percentage of our sales tax goes to this Weber County fund, or ramp grants, and I believe this year or next year it's up for vote again, whether to keep that ramp grant system in place in Weber County. And so all Weber County residents will be able to vote whether to continue that program or to do away with it. I know that Hooper City has been very beneficial with grants, especially ramp grants. If we look at our parks and our the main park and out here, and our pickleball courts and everything we have with recreation, we've been very fortunate to receive the money we have with ramp grants, and I would dare say almost $1 million, $800,000 to $1 million over the years that we received for ramp grants, and so grateful for the program. I don't know if it should be continued or not, but that's up to the voters to decide.
Okay, I have a little bit about grants. On August 17th, I attended a city council meeting, and there was a lady named Sherry Stevens that came from the governor's office. She said she was informing the council that there was 2 grants that were available. One was for all things water related. The due date was to apply was August 31st. There's $50 million coming into Utah, but we have to apply for it. The other grant she talked about was a community grant for cities with less than 10,000 people, which would be us. It was a community grant project to promote economic development and was worth up to $600,000. On September 27th, there was a virtual training to learn how to apply for the grant. And my question is, did anyone from the city apply for either of these grants? She came to present it, and I don't know what happened with it. I would love to have somebody answer if either of those grants were applied for.
I don't have a comment on that. I have a comment on grants, though.
On the grant.
Yes,
Yeah.
on the grant.
On the question, yeah.
Well, I think grants are really good, but they're not free. They come with a cost. And let me just kind of use our 5500 West project, this road improvement project that we're putting in. When that was first put in, well, I sit on the transportation board over here in Weaver County as part of the WACOG committee. It's all there's several mayors and council members that sit on different committees over there. And when we first applied for that grant a couple of years ago, it was bid at about $2.5 million. And when we actually started to put in the project, because of inflation, it went up to $5.3 million. That's for less than 1 mile of improvements on a road. And so when we met over there, when I say grants come with a cost, at the time we met, in order for the city to apply for that grant, I was asked by a mayor from North Ogden, so what do the Hooper residents, I mean, what are you putting into this? Well, how much property taxes are you going to use to put in this $5 million project? And when I explained to them that we really didn't have a property tax that we could draw on for this, our share of this 6% of the $5 million, they agreed that if we could come up with the 6%, that amount for the city's match, that they would approve it. And we ended up getting that approved. So I guess there's 2 points to my explanation. It costs a lot to improve roads, and grants are good if you've got enough money to match.
And so the only comment that I would make is, and the mayor kind of touched on that, I don't know if you're aware what RAMP is: recreation, arts, museums, and parks. So that is the only thing that a RAMP grant can be used for. And I believe the match is ever increasing, or has been increasing, on the RAMP grants. Some of them, so match, city has to match 50-50, or you have to come up with a match. And a match can be in kind or a monetary. So I think they're good. I think it would be, it's pretty hard to depend on a grant. I think we should put in for the grants that we can. I'm actually working on some right now for trails, which I hope we're able to come through on. The state said they had $99 million that they have dedicated to trails. I think you've probably heard the governor has a trail system that he wants to put from one end of the state to the other. So I'm hoping that we can get a piece of that and improve our trail system and our connectivity.
So just to explain a little bit about the RAMP grant program, all of us pay local sales taxes that Weaver County collects. Weaver County voted, and it comes up to vote every 10 years, have voted to take 1 cent out of every $10 that they set aside for this fund. And then that fund, as Cindy mentioned, is for recreation, arts, museums, and parks. So one way that I feel like the grants have been beneficial here in Hooper City, we needed restrooms out here at this park right here. We've been having porta potties that they were bringing in every single week for soccer games. So instead of taking budget money and buying and purchasing these restrooms, we were actually able to write a grant that we secured those funds. Cindy is right, there is matching, and you get more points the more you match, up to 50%. But one thing that is really beneficial about the RAMP grant program and other grants as well is they let you match with something the city already has. It does not have to be cash. So we could use manpower to go out, and which our workers did. You can use the land where the bathrooms sit on, could be used as part of that match. Our equipment, I would sit down with our public works director and he would tell me how much it would cost to, if we had to rent like our big ton trucks to go dump the dirt or the laser or any of the equipment we had, we can use that as a match. I think always we live within our budget within a city, but what the grants can do is help you get some of those things that are beneficial to the city instead of having to use budget money. The restrooms were just replaced at the other park. That was a RAMP grant. You look out here, there's 2 pavilions that were paid for with RAMP grant funds. We have new picnic tables under there, underneath the park at the other place. There's a lot of other possibilities for grants as well. But again, you want to look at those, make sure they're not strings attached and they benefit Hooper.
Okay, the next question is starting off with Ryan Hill. The question here is a 2-part question. Do you have any ties to development? Are you currently developing in Hooper, or do you plan to? If yes, do you feel this would be a conflict of interest if elected? Why or why not? And what are your thoughts on developers and home builders and their role, the role they play in our growth? So that's kind of
Sounds like more than a 2-part question.
sounds like 3.
Write a paragraph.
So,
So the first part's easy for me. No, I'm not a developer. I've never been a developer. I have 11.66 acres and plan on not developing it. So I think we can skip that part of the question for me. How do I feel about developers? I mean, they obviously play a role in our society and our communities. Good and bad. I think speaking with some of the citizens in the last couple of months about development, I do have one concern, and that concern is when a longtime resident of Hooper who owns property, and it's been in their family for 100 years, let's say, is vilified by our city and the employees in our city because they want to develop that property. I don't think it's right that we treat people with less than dignity and respect if they want to develop 1 acre or 50 acres of their family-owned property that they've had in their family forever. If they do it within our ordinances and our codes, that's fine, but I don't think we need to unreasonably expect people to go beyond the normal to develop a 1 acre piece of property. Just recently, I spoke with a landowner who was required to pay over $450,000 in improvements for a 1 acre development, which is ridiculous. And so I empathize with that family, and I empathize with anybody else that the city treats unfairly. And so, do I want to see Hooper developed like all these cities around us? Of course not, I don't. I think our general plan is fair. I think we are going in the right direction as far as that goes.
Okay, I'll take on this question. I'm sure it was aimed to me. I do have a project on my dad's farm. It is our family farm, and we are making into a subdivision. It was approved 6 years ago, and it's taken this long, and that's part of the problem, is why should it take 6 years to do a development? No, I don't think that we should treat anyone differently. I think that everyone should develop it the way the standards are. I don't think that it makes me ineligible to vote on things, because I actually think it makes me more qualified to vote, because I know what the developers, a little bit of what the developers go through working for Hooper. It can be positive, it can be negative. I've heard, I mean, you know, a lot of you are developers, whether you know it or not. If you took a a raw piece of land and arrange to have your utilities brought in, you're a developer. I don't know why I've been labeled like it's this terrible thing because I'm growing houses instead of corn on my property. And it's our right to do that. Now, of course, all of the conditions need to be met, make sure that the roads can handle it, make sure that it's put in properly. I have no problem with that, of course. It should be done right. And as far as development in general, I absolutely do think we were going crazy. There was a lot of development that was approved and there's still more houses to come in. So the city put a pause on it and it should have been 6 months. It turned into 22 months. I think that was a little bit too long, but I think it needed to happen. I appreciate that it was slowed down and I don't think that development should be stopped completely. But I think we should pace it and we should look for where we should have different size lots and we should plan it. We shouldn't just say nobody else can move to Hooper. We're done, close the door. We need to plan it. We need to have organized places of where subdivisions can be.
Okay, I have no ties to any developers, and I'm not a developer myself. As far as how I feel about developing developers in Hooper, you know, Hooper's really a big place, and geographically. And when you look at Hooper, there are open spaces of ground, and sometimes developers come out here and they want to just go develop and start building homes anywhere. Where I feel a little challenged with that, you know, as far as being accepting that homes be built anywhere, is that the developers come in and they'll build a subdivision. Once it's done, they're gone, and so any problems that the homeowners, that are now citizens of Hooper, have becomes problems with the city. And I really believe that where we've strengthened our ordinances, it may be a little tougher to develop in Hooper. I don't know that that's a bad thing. I don't think we should be letting developers build on ground that we know at some time or another that there's been water standing there. Even though it may not be in the floodplain, we're so flat in Hooper. Once water starts coming over the banks of what we call the South Run, a river, which everybody ought to walk out there because there's really no banks to it. It's just a depression in the ground. Once more water comes down the river than can make it to the Great Salt Lake because there's not enough slope, it just starts to spread all over the ground. So all over, you know, there's areas out in the northwest part of Hooper that all of us that lived here for very long have seen water standing out there. So as long as our ordinances protect the citizens that will eventually live in those homes, I have no problem with developers.
So my answer also is no. I have no ties to development. And no, I am not a developer, even though we did build on 3.5 acres. We did arrange to put our power in. We did. That's not development. That is building a family home. And that's something I'd like to be able to continue to protect. This is why in 2022 we adopted our recent general plan, and our general plan states where the areas that you can build and the density that you can build on those. It outlines commercial areas. So I think if we follow our general plan and we, like the mayor said, so we're constantly updating our ordinances, making them stronger to protect the citizens that are here. We have had instances where developers have refused to fix a problem and they have been denied building permits. And they did not like that, but they eventually came around and fixed the problem. It was affecting subdivisions next to them. We need to continue to protect those people that are already here, and I think that should be our focus.
So no, I am not a developer and I don't have any ties with developers. I was able to attend a workshop last night with the lead attorney of the state ombudsman office. And it was really interesting because he was going through the differences between property owners' rights and cities' rights. And he couldn't stress enough that as a city, you need to make sure you have all of your ordinances, all your zoning in place so that you can protect the rights of the people living there in the city. Along with that, he said that the very best way you can do it working with developers then is if you have everything in place, then when they come in, you already have all of those things that they know that they have to do. So I think that's just really important. One of the things we need to make sure in the city is we always just have everything in place. So when we're working with people that want to come in and make a development in Hooper, they know what is expected of them, and we hold them to the task. I think it has to be a two-part. I think the city, we have to do our due diligence when it comes to working with developers, so that developers know what is expected, and then developers, we should be able to hold them to that same due diligence. A lot of the growth that we see happening in Hooper is actually from our own children. A lot of us have moved here, and then we have children that want to live here, and so there are a lot of homes that we see that are here now from our children. And one thing that the city can do in place too is to make sure that we have those impact fees, which new homes have to pay. So when they come and move into Hooper, and they can do, and periodically the city should be doing a new impact study to see what those fees, what are the impacts on the roads. So we make sure that we have everything covered, so it is not putting an undue presence or pressure onto the current residents that are always living here. So like I mentioned, I think it's a two-part with the city and the developers working together.
I have no ties to developers either. I won't inherit anything to develop, that it's developable, but I'll tell you what I love. I love going to my parents' house. I leave my subdivision in Hooper Landings, and I love those people. And then I drive down to 5900 West, and I turn into my dad's property, and I look to the west, and I see the ground of Dale Farms. I see Sherry's land right next to that. I love that about this town. I love looking at the wide open spaces. I love looking at the sunsets. I want to preserve that to the best that I can, knowing that Hooper is going to grow. But that's, I think, what appealed to all of us when we moved here. And I know we can't shut the door behind us. I know sometimes we'd like to, but I know we can't do that. But if we're going to do that, let's do it in a way that respects the rights of those people who own the property. That also is a sacred right. But that they don't love us and leave us. That the developers don't come in and love us to the extent of their gains and then say, see you later, and leave us with a problem. I would like to be able to see them meet the general plan, be able to check all the boxes in the city ordinances, and have it done right so that we protect the health and the safety of people in this town. And that we also protect what Hooper means. If we lose track of who we are as Hooper, then we lose track of our heritage. We lose track of just the general right we have to be country folk. I know that probably sounds a little bit like Hobbitville, but I hope that appeals to you.
Okay, our next question will be for Cammie to start. If you are currently serving as Hooper City Mayor or on Hooper City Council, how many hours per week do you estimate you spend on Hooper City related matters? If you are elected as the next mayor or city council, how many hours per week do you estimate you'll be able to spend on Hooper City related matters and responsibilities?
Okay, so I'm not a current Hooper City council person, but I have spent a ton of hours getting ready to maybe be. It's consumed my summer. Garf will attest to this. I'm working on things every day. I'm looking stuff up, I'm writing stuff down, I'm reading minutes. I've gone to many city council meetings. So yes, I put a lot of hours into preparing to be on the council. If I am elected, I have really almost unlimited time that I can devote. I'm semi-retired, mostly retired. I do a little accounting at my house. I work from home. A little bit of accounting work, but other than that, I'm there other than when I'm in the gym. At Vasa, I have Vasa friends. Anyway, in the morning, my sister lives on mostly. Sorry. Anyway, I don't have a lot going on, and that's part of why I'm running. It's time in my life where I have time and I can give back and I can dedicate a lot of hours to the city, and I will put in whatever hours it takes. If there's a project coming up and I need to do some more research, I will put the hours in. And I don't even know a set number. Of course, we'll just see how that goes. I have unlimited time right now, and I plan on doing that. If I'm elected, I can dedicate time for the projects.
Okay, as far as what time I would have, I'm retired. And I've told people I retired after 42 years, 2 months, and 28 days with the Department of Agriculture. Being mayor of Hooper City is the first job. Well, I really haven't had that many jobs. As I said, after I worked 42 years for the Department of Ag. But I've never had a job that I could walk to. And where I live just across the street here, I was able to walk over and do the responsibilities that I have. I will put in the amount of time that it takes to do the responsibilities that I have. And it's not just reporting here to work, but just driving around Hoover. Sometimes when I see new developments going in, new projects, it's important to just drive out and see how they're doing. And if I'm familiar with maybe the irrigation systems that have to be rerouted or things like that, I can take note of that and see if we need to follow up on that a little bit closer. I enjoy just taking the time to just keep track of what's going on in Hooper. It's not only just with developments, but just coming to know where we live. And so I guess to sum all that up, I have the time to serve on the city council here in Hooper City.
So I put a lot of time in, depending on the week. Some weeks take more. Next week, I'll be at the mosquito abatement yearly meetings, which is Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, which is an interesting time frame. But so I'm on a lot of other committees. I like to pursue other things for the city. So it just depends on the week. I put in as much as needed. I take the time to educate myself on agenda items before planned meetings. If I need more information, I come into the office. I talk to the staff, I talk to Public Works. So I do spend quite a bit of time educating myself on things that are going on in the city. I said today when I came in, I've been in here 3 days in a row, are you sick of me? And so I do spend quite a bit of time. I will be able to continue to spend that time. Some of the things that one of the other council members and I pursued the Healthy Utah Initiative, and I don't know if any of you have seen that, but these are not required things, and Hooper was designated a Healthy Utah community. So there's a lot of things besides I take care of the city council business that I need to, and then I like to pursue those other things, the parks, trails improvement, and I can continue to spend that time.
So I currently am employed part-time, but it's a flexible schedule and I make my own hours. Even though people think of being the mayor of Hooper City as being a part-time job, I would guarantee you that I would be a full-time mayor. I've had a lot of experience with this as I've worked on community events. It didn't really matter what event we were working on, that I spent countless hours week after week because we were always planning for our next event. When I helped with doing this cemetery, my family can attest that my phone would ring over the weekend, but I never felt like that was a burden. I always felt like it was a privilege because I was able to help people that were in one of their most vulnerable times ever when they were trying to make cemetery and funeral arrangements. One thing I plan on doing if I'm elected mayor is I would like to have regular office hours. I know, like I said, it wouldn't be being here all the time, but I would like to set up hours so residents would know that on these certain days that I would be there if they had concerns, anything they would like to come in, that I would be there, and the staff would know and residents would know that they would be there. It's just important, I think, that people understand that you have a mayor, and I brought this up last time, that is accessible. That not only we are accessible physically, that they can call us, that they can contact us, but someone accessible that is going to listen, that is going to respond to the concerns of the residents. I know that there are a lot of concerns we have here in Hooper. I have heard a lot of those concerns. And I think you always need to be aware that there is someone there that is going to listen. So I feel like I would give you my very most time, and that I would always make sure that you would know that I am your full-time mayor.
I will not quit my job to be the mayor. I will not put my family at risk to be the mayor. I will do what it takes to be able to organize a team of people. And there are people here who know that it's a team. I'm not a micromanager. I'm a manager of teams of people. And I will not be your full-time mayor. I can't. You need to know I'm not going to lie to you. I am not going to say, oh, I'm going to do this and this. I can't. But that's not what it said was required in the book. It said part-time mayor. That's what I got. That's all I got. And if that won't work for you, here sits your vote. I'll be honest. But I will give everything I can to it. I will give more than everything I can, but I will not sacrifice the most important things in my life. I love you, but I love her more. Sorry.
I, like Greg, am not retired. Not to that chapter of life yet, so I still work full-time plus every week, and my 8 years on the council, I've done whatever it takes to work around my full-time schedule at the post office. And so we meet twice a month for city council, second and fourth Sundays of the month. Excuse me, first and third, holy cow. I'm thinking of another meeting. First and third Thursdays of the month, we meet here for city council every month. I'm currently on the fire board. I meet with the fire board the second Tuesday of every month. I'm on their audit committee, and I just do what it takes. With my current job, I actually get to work with the city because I have to organize addressing with new developments and have to come in, or not have to, I get to come in. I work with Morgan and Teresa and the great staff that's here at the city building. So, like Cindy said, getting ready for meetings require just more than showing up every night. It's looking at the emails, researching, figuring out what's going on, taking phone calls, answering emails, talking to the citizens of the community, and just being educated what's going on, being educated about what's on the agenda, and having something to say at the meeting rather than just yes or no.
Okay, I think we're back to Dale. Do you consider Hooper City to be well-funded? What would your plan to secure the additional funds that will be needed in the future for inflation, growth, and the sewer system upgrades and repairs?
Okay, so was the first part of that, do I consider Hooper to be well-funded? Did I understand you right?
That's correct. That's the first question.
Okay, so to answer that, if you attended one of our budget meetings, and we have to balance the budget, and it's just like has been alluded to, we have to balance the budget in our homes. Every year, there are projects that we would like to see improved, whether it be roads, sewer, utilities that we expect the city to take care of us with. There's always more than what revenue we have. In fact, I have a list here of funding needs. And so we set a budget, and if you think that this accounts for the budget, but our revenue is only 3/4 of that. In order to balance that, you have to say, well, 1/4 of that you won't be able to complete this year, so we roll it into the next year. So you have a negative budget. The year after that, if you don't quite complete all the budget items you wanted to complete, then you roll that into the next year. And as it was pointed out in our audit, you just can't keep operating with negative items being rolled over and rolled over. We'll never catch up. And as I pointed out earlier in this debate tonight, we as a city, as residents, we really don't pay that much into Hooper City. I mean, it looks like our property taxes are going up and up all the time, which they are, but it's not coming to Hooper City. And so again, in order for us to try to budget, set a budget, and then have a revenue that will take care of that, I think we need to do that.
Are we well funded? I think I don't know about well funded. I think that's why we made the decision to enact the franchise energy tax, because we did have more needs than was in the budget. We have just some of the things that Dale mentioned, just one of a lot of the roads have come up several times, and the condition of the roads. Out of 16 cities in Weber County, we're the 6th largest by miles of road to maintain. And I know for a fact that we have the smallest crew to maintain those roads, and probably the least equipment to maintain those roads. So that alone was, I think, justification for the energy tax. With that said, we do have to live within our budget, and there are other options I think that we can do. Like I say, the grants, some of the grants, I don't think you can fund a city on grants or run a city on grants. I think you need to continue to look at the needs that the city has. I know a lot of people think that subdivisions actually make money for your city. The more subdivisions we have in our city, the bigger drain that is on our city. We have to maintain the streets in those subdivisions. We have to maintain the detention ponds. So more subdivisions does not increase the taxes or the funding for Hooper. They're actually a drain. So.
Okay, so as we've already mentioned, I really feel like it is a spending issue. We just really need to look at our budget. With that said, though, we know we don't have very many commercial businesses out in Hooper, but we have had commercial businesses that have thrived, like the Precision Structures down the road that makes the trusses. I think one thing that would be beneficial in order to help with funding in Hooper is to look and see what businesses would thrive in Hooper. I don't think it's a matter of us just waiting to see if a business is going to come and say we would like to come here. I think we need to go out and advocate for what businesses we would like to see that would come to Hooper and what businesses we think that would be beneficial. We have a lot of our money that is going to other places. We drive other places not that far away to spend our money instead of having some of those businesses here in Hooper. It's been mentioned we probably would not get a large box grocery store, but there might be a small grocery store that might be willing to come to Hooper like they have in Morgan, for example. I don't think we can really compare city to city. I think we need to look and see what would fit with Hooper. And I would be willing to go out and actively search for businesses. I had someone give me a suggestion today of a piece of property, and they said, why don't you contact that person and say, would you ever be interested in selling this, and what kind of business could we put on that property that would end up helping with the tax base that could end up being an increase for funding for Hooper. Another thing Cindy had mentioned about our roads, and we do have a lot of roads out here. One thing we need to make sure is every year Hooper City can update, and maybe they're doing this, but we need to make sure that they do how many roads we have, because when you receive your Class B and Class C road funds, it is based on how many roads you have. And so I think there's things like that at Hooper. We need to make sure we're doing always everything accurately to get as much possible funding as we can.
So because I know relatively little about how much money comes in, I was given this book. I asked her about where's the revenue come from, so I was able to get a copy of year-end financial statements, which you're all entitled to get. And if you want a good, exciting read, grab that book, and it's great. You read through it and you go, wow, there's so much here, and it looks like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. And then you look at how much money is going out, and you think, how do we continue to fund this city? And one of the things that I've learned recently is that, like Sherry said, it would be great if we had businesses that could come in here and we could make some money off of their sales taxes. And I like the idea of being able to promote some businesses in our zone business districts where we could do that. But many of you may not know this, but if you'll buy from Amazon, and I'm not trying to promote Amazon, but anything that you buy online, that's part of the sales tax that comes into our city. And so the more you spend buying online, now for all the gals who are out here elbowing their husbands going, see, this is worth, spending money on. I'm not promoting that either. I'm just saying that one of the things, revenues that we can get that comes into the city is literally when it gets mailed to your 84315 zip code, and that money ends up coming into Hooper. That's a great revenue stream that I had no idea until I started this process of running for mayor. So until we can find these businesses that can move in, that's one way that we can increase our revenue stream that way. So I'm learning about how well funded we are, and I'm learning about how much money we spend and how much it takes to, and it's staggering to look at. I encourage you all to take a look at that. And you can come into the city office and request that as well.
So first part, are we well funded in Hooper City? Absolutely not. We're not well funded compared to other cities. All you gotta do is look around at the condition of our infrastructure, and our roads are falling apart, and our sewer, we hope works every day when we get up in the morning. Thank goodness it does. We've got some good people that are employed by the city to take care of that for us. But I guess my biggest thing with revenue is I brought my tax notice tonight, and I'll just tell you, my taxes are $4,300 this year, and of that amount, I pay $120 to Hooper City. That's $10.03 a month that I pay to Hooper City. I would pay 10 times that much to Hooper City if I knew there'd be improvements with my money, because I see what I'm paying to the Weber County School District, and again, gag reflex, and I see what the school district does with that money, and it just frustrates me to see where they're spending my tax dollars. They're building Taj Mahal high schools with a field house, for heaven's sakes. Why do we need that? They're putting in artificial turf fields to replace good grass at $1.2 million per high school. Why do we need that? I mean, there are so many things that our taxing entities spend money on that could go to good projects in Hooper City, but how do we fix it? I don't know. Have you ever been to a board meeting of Weber County School District and voiced an opposition to a tax increase by Weber County School District? Has anybody done that? You know that you can't do that. Every single one of these entities has a board meeting that you can go in opposition and voice your opinion on a tax increase. Hooper City doesn't have that. We have a property tax, but we've never, ever, ever asked for an increase. And so there's methods to fund the city. There's a utility tax and property tax and all the above. And that's what the council is here to do.
Well, I don't want to talk more about this. I'm number 6, and this question, I have about the same ideas as these guys, and we all know we just need to get more businesses here. We have 5500 that has been designated as a commercial zone. Yeah, it would be great to have committees or someone who can help us go out and find businesses, things like that. We've got to find ways to bring in tax money, and whether the city's well funded, I don't know. I'd have to go through the budget, and I have one of the books too. I've done financials, I do accounting, and this thing it's hard to follow. I need to have some training on how to understand it. But it is 16 months old. It's the end of June of 22. I don't understand why it's so old. But anyway, so yes, we need to work on the budget and try to get more commercial business out here, and hopefully we can fund the city and we won't have roads falling apart. We gotta figure that out. And the sewer is, I know, we have some work to do on the sewer.
Okay, thanks, candidates. We're really coming up against the time, 7:30. I have in front of me 4 more questions that I'd really love to have the answers to, but we're over time. Maybe these questions can be posted either via Facebook or some other medium. I think they're important. I looked through the last 4 questions. I think they're phenomenal questions that really need some answers in some format.
Like a 30-second answer instead of 2 minutes? Can we do a quicker answer?
Candidates, what do you want to do? You want to go through?
I'm done. Call me break.
Okay.
Are you done?
Okay. Well, I am going to encourage the people that submitted these 4 questions to please get them out in Facebook, and I'm going to hope that the candidates will address those separately. We're going to do the summations, and I hope you remember the order you started in, because we want to reverse that order, and the only thing I know is, Greg, you're last this time, right? Okay.
So if he's last, we're pleased.
1 minute.
Is it?
1 minute. 1 minute. This is the summation, so it should be exactly opposite of where you started the first time you started tonight, when things weren't in a order event.
Can I just say one thing as in relation to your questions? So feel free to ask each candidate also. I don't think anyone up here is not opposed to someone coming up to them personally and asking a question.
Okay.
And not everyone is participating in social media, but everyone's got their email addresses listed on the city website, so they can email directly.
Okay.
So back to me. Okay. Okay. I don't have the experience of being on the city council, but I have business experience and I have life experience, and I would love to serve the city. Let's see. I don't know which part to talk about. So I helped run my family's property management company for 28 years. We had subsidized apartments that we managed, and I managed the HUD contracts. I do not believe that we need apartments in Hooper, just so everyone knows, make that clear. That's my background, but that doesn't mean I want to have apartments in Hooper. The at-large candidates that we're running for is we represent all of Hooper, not just a certain area, so we represent from east to west. So I want to listen to everyone's everyone's ideas and everyone, and try to help as best I can. I'm here to help. I'm not here to have it be my way. I want to hear what you need, and I'm very fair-minded, and I'm open to listening. Thank you.
Come back to here. Well, having served on the planning commission, I think that was the experience that I had that encouraged me to run for mayor. Because I saw things happening in Hooper, some of the developments and things that were being put in, that I realized there needed to be some changes, even with our general plan. And if I would say just one thing in particular, you know, we used to have an overlay that the planning commission had to work with. It was an overlay that indicated that anywhere the sewer could service, a home could be built. And one of the first things I wanted to see done is have that overlay removed. Because just because you may be able to run a pipe out to a place where they want to build a home doesn't mean that that's the best place to build a home. So that's what encouraged me, or that's what motivated me to run for mayor, and I think my experience over the past time will help me serve well on the council.
I wrote mine down. It's a minute. I'm an avid promoter of community activities, biking, outdoor parks, and the trail system improvement. Serving on the West Beaver Active Transportation Plan Committee will help me continue these efforts to benefit Hooper. I took a leading role in Hooper City being designated as a healthy Utah community, a distinction that I'm proud of and that we should all be proud of. I was a dedicated member to the advisory board for the revision and implementation of Hooper City's general plan. We may have to make some modifications as the legislature continues to change requirements for the moderate income housing plan. I think we can do this. I think it can be done while still helping Hooper maintain its rural atmosphere. I'll continue to work hard, be transparent and consistent, support our city staff, and help wherever I can.
Hooper is a special place to live. That's why I've chosen to live here. That's why all of you have chosen to live here. We have a strong community, and I want to be a strong leader for you. I know sometimes we have concerns. We're worried about state mandates. We feel like that things are happening to us, and I want us to be able to feel like that we are the ones that are in control. I want you to know that I am willing to work with the state, with our county and local government agencies to be your advocate. I know how hard you work. I know as a mayor I would be a steward of your taxpayer money, and I feel a great responsibility to all of your residents. I feel like that we surround ourselves with professional people like we do in the staff, and as the mayor, I will be able to go out and I will be able to be your advocate. That I will be able to be the one that will be able to make you feel like this is the very best place that you can live.
I used to say, I got into city politics or just politics in general because of my son Riker. We went to a county delegate meeting one year because he wanted to go when he was in junior high. And for several years after that, I used to say, my son got me into this. And now, after 10 years of experience on the planning commission and the city council, I now say, my son helped me get into this amazing experience because of the people I've been able to work with and meet, and the shoulders I've rubbed with people in our county and the great people that serve us. And so I'm happy to do it again if you would want me to. I don't think you can go wrong with one candidate up here on this panel, but that's why we vote. And so thanks for the opportunity. I'd be happy to do it again for 4 more years.
To go along with what Ryan has just said, I look into every one of these candidates who sit here, and I've known you for a long time, and I have the highest respect for every one of you. Thank you for all that you've done. For those of you who have also served on city councils or other municipal situations, thank you for your service. I look at the flag and I think about my sense of duty to a community. I can't do anything big in the world. I don't know if I can even do anything big in Hooper, but if this is my time, to pick up the rifle, metaphorically, and to join with you in a battle to make it better. That's my goal, that's my pledge. And I'm looking forward to working with people who have given so much to the community already. And I look forward to serving you and helping you have your voice heard. I love this town. I love you. I love that you're here tonight when thousands of others aren't. Thank you for being here.
All right, can we just give these candidates a round of applause? And I specifically want to thank all of you for showing up tonight, and I hope that each one of us will take our obligation as citizens to really keep an eye on things, hold feet to the fire when it comes to things that are important to us. Heard a lot about taxes tonight, and I think we have to really be watching that sort of thing. Thank you all, and have a great evening.